Welcome, everyone, to the Rants About Humanity podcast. Today, I have Emmanuel Imana, co-founder of the Future X ecosystem, a project created to elevate human consciousness. Welcome on the podcast, Emmanuel. I still remember that we met like 5 years ago at the Teal Swan event when you had the Paris attacks, and then we were able to connect. So lovely after 5 years to connect with you. And first of all, congratulations on your engagement, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, man. It's a pleasure. That's the next step of my life, and I'm super grateful. Thank you very much.
Tell me a bit about your journey, like the last 5 years or about the last year during these COVID times. We catched up a little, it's like super inspiring to see how you evolved the last 5 years.
Yes. So basically, like the last 5 years, I remember when we met. Actually, was at Teal Swan event in Paris, and at that time, as I was telling you, I was on my journey, my spiritual journey, which was actually was born out of the emotional pain actually that I was feeling, based on my history of the trauma that I had, because I'm originally from Rwanda, and as you know, I was there during the genocide in 1994. So my entire journey was actually to find peace inside of me due to that trauma that I've experienced, and that moment, was a part of my own journey to bring that peace inside of me, and since that moment, I was able not only to get the knowledge, but also to integrate that knowledge, which has allowed me to bring that peace inside of me. And when I was finally,
could you first maybe explain how much it impacted you on a spiritual, emotional level to kind of show people the journey where you come from and how you worked on it and evolved?
Yes. So basically, from what I understood in my own journey is that, when emotionally, you're broken, and which is what I've been going through. Definitely, it's kind of like challenging to manifest your reality, because one aspect which creates your reality is the emotional background of yours, either in your conscious or in your subconscious, most of it in your subconscious. And as long as you haven't grasped and understood that aspect of yourself, that's those emotional trauma, it's actually challenging to move forward in your life, because it's your subconscious which is guiding your life. And when I was able to not only stop going away from my emotional wounds, but to face them, to listen to them, and not to reject them, but to integrate them. So I accept that this is part of me and this is who I am, and not being a victim of this, but I transform it as the alchemist, which will transform, anything into gold. This is exactly what I have done into my life. So, but it requires a lot of courage, it's because it is challenging, and not everybody is being able to do that. But when you have the courage to actually face the emotional wave inside of you, you can actually master everything into your life. They say that the man who has mastered himself can master everything. And that was my process. This is why it was so important for me that I started with the base ground of the emotional aspect, because it's like a tree, and the emotional aspect inside of you is the roots of the tree. And this is why it was so important for me to master that first of all.
Some people might find it confusing to hear you say, I'm not a victim of it, or I'm not a victim anymore. But on the other hand, you said, like, I want to integrate those emotions. I want to deal with it. So how can you not be a victim, but still feel how much it impacted you?
Yes, that's a good question. The thing is that, you cannot change actually what has happened to you in your life. Like I was talking about the emotional trauma that I lived, which was the genocide. And maybe there are some listeners out there who have lived some other kind of trauma in their life. And it's not something that you can actually change, but what you can change and what you can impact is how you react to that. And as I say, there's different type of people. Some people will say, the reason why I'm like this is because something like this happened to me in the past. And you let actually that event control your life, or you take control of that event, how you reacted. And for me, I started to look at it as something. How can I use what has happened to me to benefit my life? How can this be beneficial? And I remember the whole process I've done was starting to understand. And then I went to the place where the trauma even happened. That's the highest level of courage that I've experienced, my even my whole body was shaking. But then when when I was facing that trauma face to face at the physical place where it really happened, and then I realized that I didn't die and I'm still here, despite so many people in my life who actually died, at that place. I realized that, I was protected. I was protected in some way, and that I had something bigger, which was meant for me to do in this life. And
that's almost like the defeating the dragon that protects the gold, and then you defeat the dragon and it rises as a phoenix and you get reborn in a new you. Yeah.
Exactly. And this is so empowering. This is so empowering, not to look at your trauma as if they control your life, but to look at them as actually the source of energy, which will feed everything that you're going to do into your life, especially your perspective. Because if you have been able to go through that kind of trauma and you're still here and still living, that means that nothing else can stop you. You have been through the worst of what humanity can experience. And now the fact that you're still here, that means that there's something great out of which is waiting for you. And this is the way I took it as an opportunity for me to grow.
That's often the theme in a lot of archetypical stories, the journey to the underground, the meeting of death, the getting familiar with old stories and, like confronting them and integrating them and then getting reborn and going back to the outside world from the underground. A lot of stories have that element of facing the shadows, going under the ground, going in the deep, confronting your father or your stories or the past, and then rising up again, right?
Yes, definitely. This is like, somehow I have the feeling after with a different perspective and years from that, actually, in order for you to find the deep, because we're all in a quest of our greatest light, of our greatest shining, but in order to find that greatest shine, you have to actually go to the deepest of your darkness inside of you. And when you have been there, you find actually the most beautiful light that you have ever experienced, ever. But this is a whole journey, and the greatest people who have walked on this earth knows that story as well. So yes.
How did you have that bravery to face that? Because some people need to have, or some people never achieve that with enough pain and they're fed up to it. Was it a silent voice whispering like, hey, Emmanuel, you could do better than that? Or was it like potential shining and then suddenly it shifted? How was the process for you?
It's actually a combination of different processes. So for me, you were saying something interesting. You say enough pain, enough pain. For me, I do believe that when life pushes you at a certain level of pain, like each and every one of us, we have a trigger level of pain that you cannot take. And I've reached, and life has pushed me to that level of pain that I had no choice. I had no choice than to face it. If some people are still going away from their pain, that means that the pain is not enough for them to actually pay attention. And from what I understood in my own journey, no matter how far or how fast you run, the wave will catch you. And when the wave will catch you, it will drown you. It will drown you because you resist. And when I become conscious of that truth, I told myself, either I keep running from the wave or either I face the wave. And when I decided to finally face the wave, indeed the wave caught me, but it didn't draw me because I was ready for it. I was ready for it. And after it caught me, what happened is that I started to learn to swim in those emotional waves of mine. And then after I learned to swim, I started to learn to surf on those waves. And now the waves are still coming, but I know how to surf and to take them now. And this is the new knowledge that I've developed in my life. So it's the level of pain that I was experiencing actually, which didn't give me choice. And I'm grateful that the only option was to develop courage out of it. That was the only option. I had no choice. And when you're against the wall and that you don't have any choice left, this is where actually you like the courage get, this is where the courage comes, and this is so far my own journey, how it goes. And that's actually interesting, because this is I think it's basically how human beings are. We actually sometimes we need to be shocked in life to change perspective, and that's the sad truth actually of all of us, so this is how it has happened for me.
Yeah, with me, it's about sometimes having honest conversations with myself,
Yeah,
sometimes, and I still have issues to work on, like it showed
yeah,
up in like addiction, numbing myself, isolating myself from people, feeling lonely, depressed, even
yeah,
overworking, workaholicism, perfectionism. And you have these periods after you do it that you're exhausted or you get feedback from your present reality, like, dude, this is
yeah,
not working. You could do better.
exactly.
You're numbing yourself and you keep on running from it. But there's these repeated experiences that don't work or give short-term relief, and there's like this whisper, this deeper self, this higher you, that when you talk with it, it knows
Mhm,
better. And
exactly.
sometimes then I have an honest conversation with myself, like, what should you start doing, what should you stop doing, what should you let
Mm,
go of. And when you just
exactly.
wait for an answer, you know it, man. You
Exactly.
know it. You know it.
Definitely.
You fill in the
Definitely.
dots, and it's like,
Yes.
yes, this is a priority. And that's often happens when I stare through the window, when I'm like traveling, when I have that space and I get away from my old identity. And then I ask deeper questions. And then with the freshness, like I kind of see myself from my old self or attached self from an outside perspective. And I see, like, yeah,
Mm,
man, like my best friend, like an enthusiastic supporter, like this is what you probably should be doing.
exactly. Exactly. And I do believe we reached that level that you have reached. At least for me now, I'm not resisting the signs, because the universe is constantly talking to you in so many ways. You have your guides, whatever you want to call it, that they actually to show you that, this is the right or the wrong path. And they're showing you in a way that, like if you face resistance into your life, that like you have to ask yourself the question. Now I'm not resisting anymore. Now I'm following that inner voice, that inner calling, that those voice, the signs, So it seems that the waves are not as harsh, as challenging as it used to be, because now I'm so much in tune with my own emotions, and I can understand, and feel if I'm going the right path or not, and so, but it comes with experience, it comes with time. But at the beginning, it is challenging. It is challenging, but then when you get used to it, it's like anything. It's like sports, it's like anything that you try to master. It get better with time.
It's people want to, or I want to change the things that happen to me, but when I change my relationship with the things that happen to me, what happens to me changes. It's like i
Definitely.
i want to see it before I believe it, but often it's like I believe that it can be different, and then I see it, or it starts showing up in
That's
my
it.
reality. Yeah.
I couldn't say it better. Perspective is everything. Perspective.
And also I saw your belief, because we were sitting there with Teal Swan, and you said, like, I'm going to be called on stage. I know it. I'm going to be called on stage. I believe
I
it. It's like,
remember you were close to me, man. I
yeah,
remember you're deeply
yeah,
excited to me.
yeah. And you said, like, I'm going to be called. I know it. Like, there was no doubt in your mind.
Man, that was such a deep conviction, man. It was insane, and I had a dream the day before that was going to be called on stage, and you look at me like, what are you talking about? Like, I saw your eyes, man. I remember now. And then I was the first one called on stage, man. It was insane. And from that moment, like, wow, that was amazing.
And what's also nice symbolism of that thing was that happened after the Paris attacks, like, and they were questioning if they should have the event or not. But it's
Yes.
another great symbol of like facing your shadows, or also going to the negative and integrating it, because just pushing
Right.
it away like it didn't happen would be just another way to push down our shadows in the deep, right?
Exactly. Right. This is so insane, and especially that event was a kind of mirror of my own trauma. So that was something really, really interesting. Like war and everything. So, wow, it's insane. It's like talking about it, I'm coming back to it now and realize how much emotion I had to face at that moment. But yes, grateful that it happened.
How do you deal? And I also go through it, and my clients go through it, when you deal with stuff from your past. You know what happens a lot? This kind of like, oh, I should have, why haven't I? This kind of shame. Like, I
Yes.
should have known better. Like, why haven't I done this sooner? I call it kind of like running through mud. You move forward, but it feels so sticky and icky and heavy, that stage, right?
Mm,
A lot of people, also me, have difficulty with that
yes.
stage and that
Yes.
shame and that guilt.
I understand. Yes. So basically, the way I've learned to deal with that shame and that guilt was basically like to first of all to be more gentle with myself. So as I
Mhm.
say, in that process, in that journey, I learned, one of the most beautiful teaching of this one is that aspect of self-love, based on her book, Shadow Before Dawn, the whole process she has done, to actually from hating herself to loving herself, and I've used most of her tool from that book inside of me, on myself, and definitely shame and guilt is not a feeling that we were born with, but it's a feeling that you have developed, based on how we have seen people, doing and then on ourselves. And then I had to learn to become conscious of those aspects of myself which was shaming me, which was guilting me. And then I started to question and to question and to talk with those aspects of myself which were shaming me, to understand why. To have a discussion like I'm having right now with you, So basically, it's like I started to become conscious of all those different aspects of me. They say we have a minimum of 20, 22 or 24 characters inside of us, but there are some people who have 1,000, And then I started to become conscious of those aspects of me and start to sit with them and to talk with them, to understand why, and to always ask the question I still used to do, like to say, okay, when was the last time I felt that feeling, And then when was the first time I felt that feeling? And then when I was going to the core of that feeling and I understood why it was there, what happened is that the tension on that feeling of the shame was dissipating. Like it didn't have that strength anymore on myself, because I could see it now. I could put light on it. The reason why it has so much impact on you is because it's deep rooted into your subconscious and you're not even conscious and aware of. But then when you put it into the light, it has no power over you. You kind of know, you understand. And then when you hear the reason why it is there, you actually, have empathy, compassion, for that aspect, and you understand that actually it's not there to harm you or to hurt you. It's actually there to protect you, because it's a subconscious program that you have developed to actually protect yourself, and then you become in peace with it, and then you integrate it. You say, okay, you're here. I'm not trying to get rid of you. I understand. I hear you. Now I'm conscious of it, and now let's take that path now. Let's try to do something different and see how it works. So this is how I stopped fighting myself. Because if you actually try to fight yourself, it's like trying to fight a wave. You cannot win that battle. You cannot. It's like trying to fight a wave bare hands. But you have to be conscious and to make peace with those aspects of yourself and to integrate them. This is how I was able to do that. And by being gentle of myself, being gentle with those aspects of myself, no resistance. And as you say, what you resist, persist. And then as I used another strategy, I started to question, to become friends, to learn those aspects of myself so they don't have control over me.
Yeah, I use the same thing. It's actually funny because I heard Teal Swan, and she's a controversial figure. So if you don't like her, it's the teachings that are important. I think it's kind of there's aspects of certain mentors that I don't agree with, but I don't throw away everything. I take the pearls, pearls of wisdom. I use the same thing with a combination with my clients of voice dialogue and with nonviolent communication. This sounds schizophrenic, but we are possessed by certain roles, I call it the cast of characters. But some characters, they always take the limelight. It's like a one-man show or one-woman show, and they talk all the time because that's they have the mask on all the time, and they're front stage. And they have found one strategy to fulfill the need, because every part of ourselves, even we do something because it fulfills a need. So when we are aware of the character, not being possessed by it, we find the underlying needs, we can integrate it. Because the perfectionist is I want to protect you by doing, and then people will love you. So even then it has a good need, but it overperforms with a single-minded strategy. And then there's I always use a adjective and a role. So it's the carefree romantic, the sexual predator, the anxious critic, all these things, they are in our head, the positive and the negative. And there's a lot of these characters in the backseat, like the playfulness, the romantic, the intuitive, etc. But there's some roles that we play, they just are center stage. And when you really talk also with those characters, with the perfectionist, with the critic, with the pusher, with the achiever, with the judge, you see that they even are exhausted, because they want to protect those other aspects or that childlike thing in yourself, because they think you're not safe. So in a way, it's parenting yourself again, bringing those aspects to the light again. What are all these beautiful characters in me? How can I have them work together without judging them for how they act? Because you just find a certain way of how to act and express themselves based on patterns where they felt helpless and powerless in the past. But now I can reteach them, re-educate them, reparent them.
Exactly. I agree, definitely, 100%. 100%.
And also what I loved when I checked out like Teal Swan in the beginning is also the use of triggers. I remember the quote, like, you can use triggers as a rope to dive in yourself.
Exactly.
Where does this come from? What do I need? What does it affect me so much? People should check out the interview of Gabor Mate with Tim Ferriss, which is an amazing interview. And he also says, you're not reacting to what happens. You're reacting to your perception of what happens.
Exactly. We complete perception again. Perception.
And then when we change our relationship with what happens, without pushing it away, without not maybe mooring, like, this is a bit sad, like, oh, I wish it could be better. Like, it's not pushing it away.
Exactly.
Because that's one thing that sometimes I think of spiritual bypassing, of just pushing away pain, only focusing on the positive, not showing any attention to childhood wounds and trauma, etc. It's almost like I'm just going to observe a child that is crying or that has a story to tell. And sometimes that works, but sometimes you want to hold it, you want to listen to it, you want to work with it, you want to do creative work with it, that it can express those things and feel, I am not wrong for feeling this way. And this embodied spirituality, this psychological aspect of spirituality, trauma aspect, I sometimes miss in spiritual communities who only like focus on the positive or bypass those shadow sides of ourselves.
Indeed. I agree with you. Definitely.
Is that something you also realized in your journey? Because, you know, you have the spiritual aspect, you have the potential aspect with like Future X, which we will talk about. But you also have the, you know, dandy entrepreneur aspect in yourself, you know, like building up your business, being super successful in like, I think selling real estate, like winning prizes. So yeah, so you have these three elements in you, right?
Definitely. And yes, indeed, regarding my own journey into the spiritual community, and I agree 100% with what you just said. You know, I've reached a level where I realized that there was something missing. And indeed, one aspect of the spiritual community is this bypass. And basically, the way I've experienced and I've seen that bypass is the fact that, you know, like, they just want to accept one aspect of life, but not another one. You know, which means that, for me, most people that I met into the spiritual community didn't want to accept that 3D reality in which we're living. And for me, this is not what we're here for. We actually, they say, like, we're not human being having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual being having a human experience, you know. And so basically, the main reason we're here is actually to understand and to master that human experience. But on the contrary, what I've experienced in the spiritual community is that they wanted to get away from that human experience. You know? And I said, no, this is not how it resonates with me. And then this is why I started moving away from the spiritual community after a long journey inside of it. And then say, okay, let me try to master actually this 3D reality, and to see how can I use what I've learned into my spiritual journey, into my emotional mastery process, to actually impact into my 3D reality. And then somehow in my process, you know, so basically I started working. First of all, I was working in finance, then I quit, you know, because I wanted to create a project which was in alignment with what I was doing. So basically, I created my own company, which was called Evolution. You know, if you turn around, like evolve, like it's like love, and it's related to self-love, regarding yourself. And this is the journey that I've taken. And then I did that for 2 years, and it had a huge impact and successful also here in Luxembourg. And then somehow the project grew up, and then the company was growing up, and people wanted to join the company, but somehow I didn't have enough funds, you know, to actually pay people who wanted to work with me. So I asked myself, okay, what kind of opportunity or job can I find which is still allow me, you know, the freedom, you know, the connection with people, and also to increase my fund. And somehow actually real estate came to me, like within 2 to 3 weeks after I set that intention, you know, real estate came to me. And 5 years ago, you know, I was parking in front of my place at that time, and just below the apartment where I was working, there was this real estate agency, and they were having a party. And the best agent at that time actually called me, and he said, "Oh, you the neighbors, you have been living here for 4 years. We always invite you, but you never come. You should come this time." And I don't know, my intuition told me at that moment, yes, go ahead. And I said, maybe that's the intention that I've sent out there, just coming to me. And then I went inside, and then he introduced me to the whole team, and he said, oh, okay, this is the neighbor. We always invite him for 4 years, but he never comes. But tonight he's there. So he opened champagne. He gave me some nice food. I said, okay, nice vibe here. And then he introduced me to the whole team and to the boss. And then one of the boss looked at me and said, okay, this guy, he's talking well. He's dressing well. We should hire him. And I say, by joking, I say, why not? And this is how the whole story started. And 5 years after, I'm still there, and this experience, and I didn't understand why life actually was bringing me there. But it's like, you have an idea in life, the path that you are meant to take, but sometimes life is bringing you on a path which will actually bring you faster to the thing that you were always looking for, but you don't expect. Like, I always use that metaphor of it's like you're on a river. You're on a river, and then you're on that part of the river, and then you have a crossroads. You have one path on the left, one path on the right, and then in your mind you think you have to go on the left, so you use the boat to go on the left, but then life is actually bringing you on the right, and then you say, no, I want to go to the left.
The stream is like going to the right, and you just keep on paddling to go to the left.
Exactly. And I say, you know what? I'm not going to resist. I'm gonna see where it's gonna guide me. And I didn't resist at a point, because that was something contrast to what I was doing, But I said, you know what? Let me experience this. And I went in, thinking that I wanted to see what it can bring me. And to be honest, I was blown away, and I'm grateful that I didn't resist that kind of opportunity, even if it was not the first things I was thinking in my mind, because at that moment I was doing exactly what you were doing, like coaching people and everything, guiding and everything. I said, what real estate is going to bring me? And actually what I realized is that I used it, instead of using this energy, to help other people, I actually brought by that energy on me to actually master that aspect of abundance of money, abundance of time, something that was still challenging for me at that time. And I said, you know what, I'm going to put my whole energy inside of it, and then try to master that aspect, because it was challenging at that time. And then I faced the financial situation. I've been into the worst financial situation of my life at that time. And I said, you know what, I'm not going to find myself into that situation anymore, because it brought me so much pain. And I told myself, if I'm able to get out of that situation, I will actually share that knowledge to the people who are going through the same challenge as me. And from that moment, I took that decision, like the whole universe was actually helping me to get through. And this is where I moved from being like almost homeless, for my place, which is an irony for real estate agent at that time. Being elected, the best agent, of the month within 1 month and a half, So I moved to that level with that only 17 euro on my bank account, to being elected the best agent at that moment. Since that moment, I keep it creating a snowball effect, which put me on the map of real estate, not only Luxembourg, internationally. And it was such an amazing experience. And what I learned from that is that is the business aspect of it. It's also like that to be in peace as well with the frequency of money, because into the spiritual community, they have a lot of challenges on that level, And not only I learned to be in peace and to understand what was my trauma related to that aspect of money, but then also in full abundance of it. And now I reach a level where I can actually share the knowledge, how I'm made on my level, and how other people can make it, because the way I've learned to actually teach by experience, and yes, so far now I'm blessed. I've been elected the best agent of the month several years over time, even on an intentional level. So I'm blessed, and I'm always grateful. And the best way I can actually express gratitude to the universe and everything that has happened to me is actually to share my knowledge. Now I reach a level when I had enough experience and I can share this level, and I'm grateful to be here and to be able to share that with you.
Yeah, a lot of people have this averse relationship in the spiritual community with money. They have this belief like, I need to be a starving hippie. I will become evil. It will corrupt me. I can serve less people. And I teach it to my clients also with money mindset. If you can give more to yourself, if you have, a good money mindset, and you have a mindset of abundance, emotionally, spiritually, like helping people, you can actually do more. But with this mindset, you keep the evil people making money, because all the good people have a bad relationship with money. And the universe then says like, okay, this is your perception of it. No problem. I will take care of it, and you will get what you think,
Exactly. That's the main issue, because we have such such a wrong perception, into the spiritual community or anywhere else, about money. But this is not the same perception as the universe, and this is something that I actually have to learn into my own journey and to question and to, because, it's good to have beliefs, but if those beliefs are not beneficial to you, then you have to question them. You shouldn't keep them because somehow this is something that I've been taught to. And now I find myself in a place where I have found this balance with my truth on a spiritual level, but also with the abundance, not only of money, but then when you open yourself, because when you open yourself to that channel, to that vibration, because money is just only a vibration, a frequency, and then you take out all those beliefs which are barriers, which doesn't allow you to receive, you actually open the channels for so many other things, the abundance for love, the abundance for time, the abundance for friendship, the abundance for connection, the abundance for opportunity. Everything is related, and but it's just a matter of perception again, like I think this is the key word of this podcast, so
how do you, when people in the community, sometimes people perceive it as like woo-woo when they talk about manifestation. Explain a bit like on the perceptual, emotional, spiritual level, how it happens. Do you have an intention? Do you have willpower? Do you have an openness then for how it happens, and then you step away from it? Because you can be so, I like something that Carl C said, like if you need something, you're not ready to receive it. Exactly. So do you just want something, have the desire, but then you're open to opportunities? How do you manifest things, with intention, willpower, and then also an openness and a letting go?
That's an amazing question, and I love that you asked this question. And for the people who perceive that woo-woo, I will go to the scientific aspect of it, and which was actually taught me by another one of my mentors, which is Jonathan Amaret. So basically, if you look at what is reality, what you perceive, basically, it is what you see with your eyes and your reality it's called electromagnetic frequency. And basically, it is if you can picture that, it's like a different circle, different layers, and the last layer is definitely that aspect of electromagnetic frequency, which is light, what you can perceive with your eyes. And then below that layers of electromagnetic frequency, what is there? There is thought. So thought, creates your perception and your electromagnetic frequency. And we're talking about perception and thought. And then below that layers of thought, we have emotions. Emotions. So basically, this is one of the most aspects of the manifestation that you are lacking, because they're always talking about what you think you manifest. But below the thought, there's the emotional aspect that we don't talk actually about enough, because basically it doesn't matter how much you are in it doesn't matter how much of let's say of beneficial thoughts you're thinking. If you feel like crap, if you feel like shit, it will not impact your thoughts. Basically, your thoughts are originated from your emotions, and vice versa. It doesn't matter how much a negative thought you have. If you're feeling great, it will not impact actually your emotions. So emotion is one key important element of actually impacting your thought, and then your thought impacting your reality, which is electromagnetic frequency. And then this is where I understood that the process of the spiritual journey that I've done actually helped me a lot by mastering emotion and being in alignment with my emotions. The only thing that I have to take care of, and the only thing that I have to take care of in the morning, the first thing I have to take care of in the morning when I'm waking up, is actually take care of my emotions. So I have those morning habits, which allow me to actually be in alignment with my emotions, and like I meditate and I put nice music and I dance. So then I elevate my frequency and my vibration. And then when I'm in that good feeling of state, then naturally my thoughts are going to be in the same alignment as my emotion, because it's all vibration. And then it will impact my thoughts and my reality during the day. And when you can impact your day, you impact your week, you impact your month, and vice versa. And then you impact the rest of your life. And it actually starts with what you do in the morning and also what you do in the evening. So the only thing that you have control on is those aspects. And then the most important, the layers below emotion is the I am. I am. This is they say it into spiritual. I am that I am, the great I am that I am. For example, when you wake up in the morning, you can say, "Oh, I'm feeling like shit," And this is actually going to create the vibration. And just even saying that, I can feel it inside of me. Like, you know, because it's not a vibration that I'm used to say inside of me, but I can feel it just saying that. So when you say that, it impacts your emotion and then your thoughts and then your reality. But if you say, I'm feeling amazing, you know, when people ask me in the morning, how do you feel? I don't say, oh, it's okay, I'm feeling okay. No, I say, I'm feeling amazing. So basically, I create that vibration just by saying, I'm feeling amazing. And then the feelings come, then the thoughts follow, and then the electromagnetic frequency follow into your reality. So this is the science behind it. And hopefully, those who think that is woo-woo, then you have the whole science behind it, which actually allow me to manifest that aspect.
Yeah, this is super powerful. I think one thing is also just proactively getting yourself in a good state, so it starts from a good place. But what also I was thinking when you talked about it was, anything you want something, if you can envision why it brings you in a good state, or what you will improve, or how you will feel better by writing, by visualizing it, by seeing how it will impact people, it makes it much more embodied and feeling like, you know, and you attach some more important meaning to it, you know.
Yes.
And a second thing also I think is powerful, it's on the other side to saying like, I'm amazing. And if people don't feel well, or they feel less, they could say, related to what we talked about before with the parts, a part of me feels disappointed. A part of me feels a bit down, you know. It's the perfectionist, or whatever, how you call it, or you want to give it a name like Maurice or whatever, you know, it's Maurice the complainer, you know. Maurice feels a bit down. That way you don't associate completely with that negative feeling, but really acknowledge like that part of me is feeling a bit down, instead of being defined by that one character with that one state, one way of thinking, and one emotional state, right?
Yes, indeed. I mean, for me, as I say, you know, we're talking about characters. And then if you, as you say, if people say, I am amazing, but they don't really truly feel that, then as you say, you have to question the character which doesn't feel that. You know, you have to talk with that character which doesn't feel that and understand why. And as we were saying earlier, whenever you question that character and then you understand why actually that character is feeling the way it feels, it doesn't have you don't have too much attachment to it anymore. It's become more light. So then when you actually let's say become conscious of that heaviness, it's not that heavy anymore. So it's like basically, you know, when you put light into it, it doesn't block the channel. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. The channel of reception of that vibration that you need actually to receive. But when you say, I am amazing, but then that character is, I don't feel, you know, then you have that blockage and then the whole energy doesn't go through it. So indeed, you cannot bullshit yourself. As I was saying, you can just say those thoughts, but if internally you don't really feel it, it will not work. So indeed, the feeling is so key in that matters. And if you don't really feel it, then you have to question it until actually you integrate it.
And that's also something that I like about nonviolent communication. They say like when you're like triggered or when you're happy, it's because either a need was not fulfilled and you were lacking it, or a need was fulfilled. So in a way, when you're triggered or frustrated, it's actually something that points you to your needs. And something that I noticed, and I work with it with my clients, is sometimes you're starving yourself of a need and you have one specific kind of meal to fulfill that need. But when you don't get it through that meal, you're exhausted, you're hungry, you know, and you're like irritated. So a way is also to proactively have a buffet of your needs, right? So if you really need belonging, if you need play, if you need adventure, instead of only expecting it from your partner or that one specific strategy, how about you get to know yourself, what's really important to you and your needs, and then you proactively make sure that you fulfill it in many ways. So then when one way doesn't work, it doesn't trigger you so much because you proactively made sure that you fill your own cup, right?
Yes, I agree with you. I'm talking about that. You know, you're talking about partner. My beautiful fiance just came in, you know, here into the car. You know, so this is Philip. We are in that beautiful podcast, and I agree with you, because before being able to actually to manifest her into my reality, like it took me time. You know, a lot of trials as well to the whole process. Hold on, ma chérie, tu peux passer par chez toi? Comme ça, on a encore l'internet. Sorry, I'm just telling her that. The way she has to go.
Oui, on va à la maison.
Okay, perfect. So basically, it took me a long time. Hold on, sorry for that.
Yeah.
Just put my seat belts. So because now we're gonna drive. Yes, I'm back. So basically, in order to manifest into my reality, it took me a lot of time, a lot of trials, because one aspect for me, which is I do believe, which is so important in life, is to be able, to find that balance of abundance of love. For me, this is the what most of us actually are looking for. Most of us, whatever we're doing, at the end of the day, this is one of the biggest needs that we need as human beings, that feeling of love and an abundance of love. And I'm grateful that I was able to find that with her. And indeed, coming back to what you were saying, in order to be able to be at that level and talking that way, I had first of all to actually fulfill my own needs. First of all, before even fulfilling my own needs, to actually understand what were my needs, and to understand, based on those characters we're talking about, what were the needs of all those characters, and how can I fulfill them in harmony with together, so that whenever I feel one need, one aspect of me doesn't feel not betrayed or whatever, like not fulfilled in this case. So it was a long journey, and then when I found her, it was not about her meeting my own needs, because I was able to actually fulfill my own needs by myself, and I found so much joy, and I was vibrating at that frequency of joy, that I didn't need her to fill my own cup, because I was able to actually fulfill my own cup. And there's this beautiful analogy about love that I like. It's like being able to fulfill your own needs is like having a big bottle of water in your back, and that whenever you need to fill, then you take that beautiful glass of water and you can fill up yourself. And then whenever you meet a partner in your life, and that partner has also a bottle of water, and then you like to test her own water, and then you can each other give to you that water, but neither one of you will actually lack that water, because you will always have that inside of you in your back, and you can fill up whenever you need, and you just here to share actually that joy and that beautiful water. So yes.
Yeah, it's still a stage that I'm like struggling with, when I'm like honest. The self love I'm working on. Is
Yes.
it that way, that as long as there's no self love, the relationship you will have will be a compensation for your lack of self love, and it create conflict? And the second question is, what if you focus so much on self-love and your own needs that you become so self-centered, or you're like, I don't need anybody else, that there actually at that point is no room to let somebody in? I'm struggling with that sometimes, because I'm so used to, being by myself, that I sometimes think like, is there openness for somebody else, to connect again?
I understand. I have a big smile when you say that, because I've been there. I ask myself the same kind of questions. And for me, there's not, it's not a secret actually to find that, but if I can share that for you and for the people out there. So basically, I start to question myself. It comes back to the mentor we had, which is this one, which she was asking that question: what will somebody who love themselves will do? So then I started actually to treat myself as if I was in partnership with myself, as if I was my own partner, and then I started to see the shadow aspects of the lack of love inside of me, even for the little details that I actually had, and then question them as well. So it started really slowly and from the little things, like for example, if you go to the supermarket and then you ask yourself, okay, do I want, that apple or that orange, as this one was saying, and then you ask yourself, what will a person who loves themselves do? And the more you actually become conscious of that question, like what would someone love themselves do, the more you start to align yourself and to treat yourself in a way of more like in a self-loving way, and then and then and then and then and then it goes from details like this to bigger question into your life. And at one point when you can actually find yourself, having that laugh in the morning for nothing, having that joy just for life itself, and gratitude. One key important element of that process of self-love was gratitude. Really gratitude, because the vibration of gratitude is actually the same as love. because I was being grateful, even if I didn't have a partner in my life at that moment. I was being grateful for the for the relationship that I was developing in myself, and I was being grateful for everything that I've done, all the courage that I've developed to actually go deep inside of me into the trauma, to go deep inside of me to question those characters, to discover my all the characters that I was not conscious of, and the more I was developing this relationship with those characters inside of me, the more I was loving myself, the more I was enjoying being with myself, you know. And then from that moment, you know, whenever that beautiful partner came into my life, I have created enough space for somebody to come in, not to fill up the needs that I haven't fulfilled with myself, but actually to share that joy with me, you know. And because indeed, if you go into relationship and you haven't questioned enough or put enough in light those shadow aspect of lack of self-love, it will show up into the relationship. This is why I say relationships are so beautiful, because it actually mirror the aspect of you that you're not conscious of. And even if I have done a lot of work on myself, trust me, there's been a lot of shadow aspect which came into the relationship with my beautiful fiance here. It was really challenging. It was not easy, to be honest with you. Now I'm proudly here saying that she's my fiance, but trust me, it was really a challenging journey. You know, it was really a challenging journey.
Yeah,
But I'm grateful.
this is something often about self-development, that people think self-development is also only developing yourself by yourself, but sometimes the deepest aspects of self-development are with other people in a social, intimate setting. That's how you get to know the most intimate, embarrassing, painful, frustrating, parts of yourself that you're willing to ignore when you only, give feedback to yourself in your own narcissistic echo chamber,
Definitely. For me, this is actually where the key, the most important key lies, actually, with other people. It's easy to be with yourself because you have get to know about yourself. But then when you actually face other people, it reminds you also that, that beautiful picture, of the young monk, who almost completed his spiritual journey. And then his masters, his mentors, the old monk tells him, okay, you almost completed your spiritual journey. And the last step is this one. And then they send him where exactly? They actually send him back to his family, back to where actually he has the deep root of his trauma. And this is this picture, this metaphor, which is so interesting, because indeed, when you're with yourself, it kind of like it is kind of like not so easy, but when you think you have mastered that aspect of the spiritual journey, when you truly master it is when you confront that to other people. And especially into relationship, because loving relationship actually goes deep into the core of your emotion and goes deep into the core of your subconscious, because the way we behave in a relationship is the way of the whole thing we have learned into our own journey and old programming, But sometimes we cannot be conscious of that by ourselves. We need actually a mirror, which is the one which is the person who we are in a relationship with, to actually mirror that aspect of us that we cannot sometimes be conscious by ourselves.
Yeah, sometimes Steve Swan says, she says, love is taking someone as part of yourself. And something that I still struggle with sometimes is that I have more an enmeshment pattern instead of like a codependent pattern. But that once, somebody else is there, that the emotions, the state of somebody else, like it affects me. Instead of me staying in my own energy and frequency, not being affected, being able to, handle the waves of the women, the emotions, and have a safe place that is centered. Sometimes I can be like drawn in, and I want to fix things. I want to change things. I'm like drawn in. So you want to be affected by what somebody else does, but not so much it depletes your state, and you can't stay centered.
Exactly. I understand so much what you're saying, because I've experienced that actually, with different partners that I had, and somehow each one of them actually taught me to actually even be centered and aligned, even if I was in a relationship. And indeed, you can be decentralized inside of yourself when you're in partner with another person, because it's another energy. So you need to actually to find that balance, with your own energy and with the energy of somebody else. And sometimes either you go fully into her energy or you disconnect, and sometimes you feel like you're disconnected from yourself. So the challenging aspect is to be able to find that balance between those two energy. And it's not easy. I've experienced that, and I know I can definitely understand what you're saying. And then when I was not able to actually find that balance when I was in relationship, I told myself, okay, there's still some shadow aspect inside of me that I'm not conscious of, because otherwise I would not be totally unbalanced, if I was in a relationship with that person. So I learned that. I learned to see deeper, those aspects that I was not conscious of when I realized that, when I was in a relationship, I was not balanced, So, but now I have deeply that feeling that, that I have this balance, but sometimes you have to go one way, sometimes like this. So it's not black and white, it's not really black and white. And that's the most challenging aspect of human beings for me, to master relationship. This is something to master love, to master this is something that like most of us have been challenged with. And this is when you're able to find that balance, this is where you find true fulfillment, because we are talking about the non-balance on the negative aspect. But when you find that balance on the positive aspect, trust me, like whatever you saw that you could achieve by yourself, when you find that balance with the right partner, like your energy and whatever you wanted to achieve is multiplied by 10, by 1,000. And you go so much faster, and the energy is so much powerful when you can find that right balance. And it's exactly what happens with my beautiful fiance. Like within the time we've been knowing each other, I was able to accomplish even more that I ever accomplished in my life, because you're talking about productivity into your podcast, into what you're teaching. Like for me, if you find the right partner, like this can 10x, your productivity. And if you ask the question to the most successful men in the world, they will tell you what is the most key important of your success. They will tell you to have the right partner. And it's so important.
Yeah, and we live in a culture now that it's all about the likes. And if you don't like something, sometimes we treat people like an app, download a new one, find a new one. So I think with the layers of love of the self, and then being able to love somebody else, and then being able to love your children, I see some elements, and I noticed starting in my generation, that is a bit ego gratifying, narcissistic, that they find it hard to love themselves, that they have no time for a relationship. They expect so much from a relationship. They expect everything from one person, what they in the past got from the family and the community and the church. There's so much pressure on it. And there's a lot of people who would even say, like, I don't want to have children, But that I think, like, hey, first building yourself up and knowing yourself intimately, and then knowing yourself intimately in a relationship. But then half of your life, knowing yourself intimately as a dad, as a father. I mean, I don't have children, but that aspect of myself, I think that's also a hugely undiscovered aspect. That can also like be half of your life about being a dad. But I feel a lot of people are scared of facing themselves, being in a relationship, let alone having children and discovering themselves in a relationship with it.
Exactly. You know why? Because I do believe that those people who are afraid because, as we're talking, relationship is a mirror of yourself, and if you're not ready to face whatever life is going to mirror you through relationship, either through relationship with your partner or just relationship with your children, then you'll be challenged. But then if you're ready to face everything that life throws at you, and you're confident because indeed you have been to that journey of learning about yourself and to challenge yourself and to be ready no matter what wave of emotional life will bring it to you, then you will sail smoothly. Then you will go smoothly. I mean, this is what I feel. This is what is going on with my relationship. And hopefully, whenever I will be a dad, I will still sail that wave, surf on that wave the way I'm doing right now into my relationship.
And you know what I love about your message of love or evolving? I feel that a big part of the world, it's vibration on the vibration of fear.
Oh, yes, so much.
Instead of vibrating on the vibration of connection and love.
Exactly. That's the real challenge of humanity for me. And this is why I've created, like, as I told you, like this whole system of being able to actually elevate human consciousness at a higher level, like beyond the vibration of fear, but to a level of self-love, and to a level of connection with each other. Because for the moment you actually love yourself, because they say that you treat other people as you treat yourself. And if you haven't learned to treat yourself with care and with love and with compassion, how can you teach or treat others with self-love and with love and compassion? You can only give what you know, you know? So this is why for me, it's so important to start with yourself, because every relationship that you're going to have is going to be, again, a mirror of yourself. So I agree with you that this is one of the most challenging aspects of humanity, that we vibrate so much at the level of fear. But yeah.
Yeah, like the myth, and that's also the water. Maybe you also have like some kind of relationship with the symbol of water, with the the cup and the water and the waves.
Exactly.
We also have the thing that the mirror sometimes of people is the mirror on their smartphone, or like a narcissist who was looking in the water and seeing themselves. So people see their image through approval of others, but that's not really love. That's not really connection. I see connection being replaced by digital connection or approval or likes. But that's a false replacement of like really being cared for and really a good relationship with people. And I think that's a bit of the danger of people like losing real connection and replacing it with false idols of so-called connection and importance and status.
Yes, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. And this is indeed the danger. But at the end of the day, this is exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for deep connection, and more, and people out there with this new generation and everything, and not only new generation. And we can talk about our generation and everything. It's actually they try to find substitute of that connection. But at the end, on the long term, it's not a win, because it's like subtle. It's like whenever, for example, you want to buy you something nice, but then at the end, don't feel that, you can feel it for a moment, but not for long term, So that's still an escape mechanism of actually trying to go deep inside of you and to find that real connection with you. But it's always some substitute that we're looking for with the connection. No matter what we do, it's actually something that we're all looking for. Everything that we do is based on the deepest need of connection and love.
Yeah, I think I also take it to my clients, and it's been like a journey of first getting the auto gratification and then going deeper, because I think most business problems are personal problems, and more personal problems are like childhood emotional problems or trauma problems. So whenever you don't tackle the root, it will be like difficult. And one thing that is so-called crisis has taught us is that you want to rely on yourself. You want to build yourself up. That's why I love to connect with rebels with a cause, influencers, creative artists, who build people up, help people think differently and take responsibility. So one thing that is hopeful in the long term, but in the short term, maybe, it's darkest before the sun goes up again. Maybe there will be a second hippie revolution again, or people standing up for connection and nature and, away from technology and more closer to themselves and other people. It also happens in the 60s after World War II. I don't know, but I feel as much as fear is like pushing, as much as the dark is rising, I think it can never hold back, the light. When we like work on it, it can push it to the back. But I believe that at a certain point, there will be like a backlash. What is your feeling about humanity and consciousness?
Yes, and for me, that's an amazing question, because this is somehow something that I always wanted to do. Like, first of all, to become conscious of my own self, because I say that I'm in the journey of discovering the best aspect of myself through elevating my own consciousness, and then inspire others to do the same. And coming back to what you were just saying, I don't believe that technology is the problem. Technology is not the real problem. Lack of consciousness from humanity is the real problem, and because we can use actually that technology to help us to become even more conscious, and that technology to combine it with nature, because somehow the technology that we're creating is an aspect of our own spirituality. So for me, it's all connected, and basically my own journey of elevating my own consciousness, that now, based on my own story and my own trauma that I've experienced, I developed a new perspective about life. And then, based on the journey of finding this peace inside of me with those with those emotional trauma that I was able to master, I developed a new perspective about myself and what I was really able to do. And then I realized that like what was really the main challenges for that human consciousness was based on the challenge that I faced myself as well. And for example, if you look at the pyramid of Maslow, and then you look at the basic needs of human beings, you actually see that the basic needs are related to finance, to food, to shelter, to those basic needs. And then I realized that most people, like the majority of humanity, actually being challenged on those levels, and those levels are keeping them, locked up into the lowest level of human consciousness, the fear vibration that you were talking about.
Survival, right?
Survival, exactly. So they're always in fear of how they're gonna pay that last bill, of how they're gonna put food on the table, of how they're gonna do that and everything. And then I understood that as long as we'll still be stuck on that survival level, on that fear vibration, we as humanity will not be able to elevate our own consciousness. So basically, I've done that for my own self. And so far to this day, I was able to resolve those basic needs. And then in my own journey, I've met, an amazing young man, which is a genius, who is my partner in the project that you have co-created. His name is Simon Volk, and basically he has created a project that he has been working on since he's 12 years old. And actually, I met him in Vienna 3 years ago. And basically, in a summary, the project is called FutureX, with a futuristic vision with X for accelerator. And basically, he has developed, and in collaboration with so many people he has connected all over the world, those pillars. And those pillars are actually responding to those basic needs of humanity, as I just explained to you regarding the pyramid of Maslow. And basically, that it's a whole ecosystem, and that whole ecosystem has 5 pillars. The first pillar is actually finance-based. Basically, to be able to fulfill the financial needs of people. And in this case, we have actually created a token, and we have launched it in March 2020, which was at 1 cent. And now it's actually, after 1 year exactly, it is at $40 with more than 1,700 orders and more than 5,500 transactions, with 3.5 million generated, and at the end of December we have signed a huge deal with a big bank, which is called the KB Kookmin Bank, which is the fourth biggest bank in South Korea, which has invested actually 150 million into the project, and then which now allow actually people to even invest into this token and to be able to fulfill their own financial needs. We don't need, at that level, we don't need funds because you have big players investing. But for whoever, any investors, basic investor who want to have more funds and more benefits, can actually invest into it at whatever cost, and then this can happen into their own journey of fulfilling the financial needs. And then we have the pillar of technology where we're actually collaborating with futuristic technologies such as a magnet generator, which can actually, give electricity and energy actually to a whole village, which is insane. And this can have a huge impact in a whole village, for example, in Africa. And then we're also collaborating with technologies such as saltwater car, and all the high level technology. And then we have the pillar of health, which is one of the key important elements that we have been talking about this whole year, which is so key and so important. We're working with scientific, with a physician, who have been studying, the human body for a long time and everything, where we're collaborating with them. We're also selling products, which can help actually the human system of the human body. Then we have the pillar of education as well. Then we have the pillar of real estate. We actually plan to create, properties which have this ability to heal people, to vibrate. The kind of materials we're going to use and create are going to impact the human body as well, because we spend 80% of our time into our homes, and then creating properties which have materials which can impact the human body with a specific vibration. And not only that, but also to be able to fulfill the issue of energy, working with those magnet generator, but also being able to produce your own food into that house, because with whatever we're injecting to the human body as well. So basically to answer to all those basic needs, just with the aspect of even real estate. And then we have the pillar of education, as I was telling, which is so important. This is exactly what we're doing. We're educating people with our own journey. And then the last pillar, which is foundation, where we actually invest into other project as well, which has a futuristic vision to impact humanity on a bigger level. So basically, this is the summary of the whole ecosystem.
What was the big juicy question that you asked yourself before starting this project?
Man, like I have the feeling that I've asked myself, the deep question for a long time. Why am I here on Earth? What is my purpose? Why am I here for? And then doing this project was an answer to that question. Like, it was a combination of everything that I've been doing for a long time. The combination of the spiritual journey, the combination of the entrepreneurship, the combination of the mastery of myself. It's a whole combination. So it's actually the answer to most of my questions. This is how I do that.
If people want to find out more about you and the Future X project, where can they find out more about you and to become an X-man or an X-woman?
Definitely, I would love that. I love that. I will use that again. Thank you for that. So basically, if you want guys to become an X-man or X-woman, basically what you have to do, so you can actually follow me on social media, Emmanuel Imana, either on Facebook or on Instagram, and also the Future Holding on Instagram as well. And follow also Simon Volk, which is the CEO of the Future X ecosystem, and he's such a genius. Actually, if I can summarize that young man, I would say he's a mix between Nikola Tesla, the greatest genius of all time, Elon Musk, and Bruce Lee. He's a combination of those three men, and he's the man who has given me back faith in humanity. And I knew that since the first moment I met this young man, without even us being at that level of the project. But follow this guy, follow Future X, follow the Future Holding on social media, and there's more coming, and you can come to me to ask more questions if you desire.
Last question for anybody who's looking to master their emotions or to manifest their vision. What would you suggest where they start or what they do?
So if I can keep actually one tool, that was really beneficial for me in my journey is actually I would say meditation. Even just for 5 minutes. This is how for me it started. Just 5 minutes. Like, I didn't know what was meditation at that time. Like 6-7 years ago, I didn't know what it was. But then I just tapped on YouTube, like, what is meditation? And then I started to listen to guided meditation. And when you do that, you actually quiet your mind. You don't have that chatter. And then when you can quiet your mind for just a moment, you can actually start to find the answer that you have always been looking for inside of you. So this is one tool that I can give everybody, to start with. And this is simple, straightforward, doesn't require a lot. And this is something that I would suggest everybody to start with.
Yeah, man. Then you can start floating in the sea of emotions and change your relationship with what happens, and realize you're going to be safe. You're going to be to a safe shore, and maybe it's a beach, and you chill and you change your relationship, that feeling like drowning, man.
Definitely.
Thanks so much for being a guest on my podcast and inspiring people. I wish you all the best with manifesting your vision. It was great to catch up, Emmanuel.
Looking forward. Take care of yourself, and see you soon, my friend.
If you like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a comment. And if you're a coach or consultant and you want to scale your online business or maximize your productivity, check out the show notes to find out more about Philip and his coaching programs. Rent over.